His last name is Donais, and if you can't get it right by now, just get out, right? Back to the Scandalous Podcast, Jon from Anthrax and Living Wreckage, formerly of Shadows Fall. Which guitar term do you prefer, Jon? Shredder, guitar god? How do you like to be addressed?
I'm still in Shadows Fall.
Oh, well, hey, that changed, didn't it? That just rolled. The whole world has to adjust to that. It used to be like, oh, formerly of Shadows Fall. You guys are playing shows again.
Yeah, we just played a show in September. We played 2 shows.
Ridge.
Yeah, and Furnace Fest.
Oh, there you go. So how were those shows?
They were great. Yeah, we don't have anything scheduled now for the future, but I hope to do more. We'd love to do more, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, well, you're the guy that just loves music for loving music. Like every morning, I roll over in bed, like open Instagram. There's usually a cool guitar video of you, just nothing fancy. You're just like sitting, having your coffee. It's like a Folgers commercial, and you're just wailing away on your guitar.
Yeah, a lot of things. What I do as soon as I wake up is just, I walk by a guitar and I grab it and see what happens. But yeah, I love music. That's why I'm always trying to stay busy with some band, It's like when one takes a break, I got to keep busy. Otherwise, I'll go crazy.
Yeah, I love that about you. And congratulations is in order all around. Just got married, fresh off the 40-year anniversary tour for Anthrax. And Living Wreckage is releasing their first full-length CD on the 23rd. Let's talk wedding first. How was the wedding?
The wedding was great. Had all my friends there. The bands were there, and it was a party. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It was like we had a perfect day, perfect weather, and then just everyone had such a great time. It was awesome.
There you go. Yeah, you had drunk friends there too.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of alcohol consumption that night.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you think like weddings are going to be stuffy events, like not for rockers, not for metalheads.
Oh no, we had not many weddings have Slayer and Pantera cranking, so
that's awesome. Yeah, way better than that horrible rap music. That stuff's terrible.
Yeah, even the people who were working the wedding thought it was awesome because they're like, it's so nice not to get the same top 40 shit. Because they get the same songs every week. And they're like, oh, it was so nice to have some different music.
So I want to get to Anthrax, of course, but I want to talk Living Wreckage first. Created during the pandemic, passion project from some of the most talented musicians in metal. Tell us about the band, Jon.
Yeah, so it started, I've had a ton of material written for a long time because Shadows Fall's last record was 2012. So I was just sitting on a mountain of riffs and songs. So Matt and I knew from Shadows Fall, we knew we wanted to be in a band again together. It was just finding some time. So Anthrax got off the road November 19, and I knew I was going to have some time. So decided to start a band. But I didn't know I was going to have that much time. And then COVID hit. So that's all I had was time. And it enabled me to do this because there was nothing else to do. And put a band together, wrote a record, and it came out September 23rd. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I remember talking to you during the pandemic and just listening to the tracks for the first time. The vocals are some of my favorite vocals I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's just, vocals are important, it's a very important aspect. And it's like a combo, like the riffs in your music is like a combo of everything we love about metal. And it's like a super group of all of these different elements that we love. And it's just really incredible music. What have people told you so far about the record?
Well, I wish everyone would say that. That's great.
Have you gotten any negative Nancy's? No, what?
Oh, well, yeah, of course. When we were shopping the record, the labels, we got passed on by a lot of labels.
Wow.
But one thing we wanted to do is our favorite stuff is 80s and 90s hard rock and metal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just trying to fuse those two worlds together, like the 80s arena rock and then the 90s metal, like Pantera, stuff like White Zombie, Nevermore, mixed in with our Def Leppard and Skid Row influences from the 80s. And the same with the Big Four stuff in the 80s, because it's got a lot of thrash in it too. But it's much more melodic than Shadows Fall because of the singing. I didn't want just another screaming, like all, because to me, there's a lot of that going on right now. And I really wanted melodic vocals. So that was a priority for me, to find a singer that could sing melodic. But Jeff can do both, so that's great. But at first we just, wanted a melodic singer, kind of just stand out a little bit more than some of the modern stuff going on, I guess. I don't know. When I hear a lot of new bands, I can't tell, like, maybe it's because I'm old now, but I find it hard to find. I'm like, I can't tell the difference.
That's a really funny point. That's actually a really funny point. I haven't thought much about that, but that's could be true. I'd have to think about that. Just like, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying there. That's actually a really good point.
It's really, having a singer have a strong identity when they hear that's the big thing, because all my favorite bands, I could tell who they are as soon as the singer comes in. I'd be able to tell you who it is right away, and that was really big for me to try to find something like that. So when you hear the band, even if you don't know the song, you'd be like, that's those guys.
Yeah. Well, of course, just like you said, like you can get really attached to singers and to voices. Mm-hmm. And that's such a thing. And really, this singer of Living Wreckage, it's like one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard in my entire life. And
we won't tell them that.
Never at all. Just me at a show afterwards going, oh my God, I love it so much. But I was going around listening, and is it an insult to you to be compared to another band, or is that a compliment? How do you feel about that?
If I like the band, good. Okay. If I don't, I'm like, shit. I'm not trying to go for that. But no, if people like it, I don't care who they compare it to. As long as they like it, I'm happy.
So I wrote this interview like a month ago, and then I got sick, and then our schedules got all messed up. And I was just walking around and listening to the album. And I'm horrible with song titles, but you'll probably be able to guess which one. But I really, I heard in one of the songs, I heard Backcountry from Avenged Sevenfold, like an iconic album that like really got people. And it was like the riffs and kind of like the vocals in one of the songs. It just really reminded me of Backcountry, which was like an iconic album for so many people. And it got them, and people consider Avenged Sevenfold to be one of the most incredible bands in the entire world. And I really like heard some notes of that album in there. Is that a compliment or an insult to you, or is it okay?
It's a compliment. For me, it's a compliment. I love Avenged. I think they're all great players. I think they're just a great band. Yeah. But also, I think some people, it's different because I'm in the same age area as Avenged Sevenfold, so I have a lot of the same influences. So we're all in the same area. So being influenced by Avenged is different than liking them, because we have the same. I love Pantera, Metallica, and Guns N' Roses. So those guys, we have a lot of the same influences. So I guess that's where things can be compared.
No, and that's a really good point. You guys are in the same age range, so you just have the same influences, and that's where
exactly. It's like I still think they're a great band, but they didn't help me form my style because I already had that. Because
good,
it's not a diss at all. I think they're unbelievable, but we grew up my influences were their influences.
Cool. Yeah, you're so right about that. There you go. See, and that's why I like having a podcast. And that's why I like being chill, like homies with people I podcast with. Like I can ask questions, not feel like a total idiot.
Yeah, but no, I do love that band. And
yeah,
we took them, Scandalous Fall took them out on one of their first tours. And I remember watching that sound check and being blown away. I was like, wow, like I think these guys are going to do something. Then it took over the world. So.
And boy, did they.
Good for them.
Yeah.
It's nice to see a real talented band get to that level.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. Well, I feel comfortable with you, so I won't feel like a total idiot. Or, asking. I feel like this is a very safe space, and I appreciate the intelligent conversation about the theology of Living Wreckage and other bands that you're in the same age group with. I feel I won't be embarrassed by that. It's like you live and you learn, and
no.
There you go.
It's great to be compared to a good band. Like I said, they're a great band, so it's nice to be compared to. It's better than that saying some band that's not good.
Yeah, for sure. I think I just meant it of like people. You said you like shopped it around a little bit, and record people are like,
Yeah.
But I just like when I listened to it, I was like, oh, that's that thing everyone loves. Like people, it was just, it sounded that good. It sounded like a really iconic record.
Just trying to write songs that stand out from each other too. So it's not one, like the album doesn't feel like one song, it's like, oh, it's kind of just, all these songs are kind of running into each other. I don't know what's what at this point. We really wanted to just have all 9 songs stand on their own and have their own identity instead of, you throw it on and you're like, this kind of sounds like the last one,
Absolutely. And I really do. I'm such a like raw metalhead. Just the meanest growls and screams don't even hurt me anymore. They just sound like home, I'm just so used to the scream, 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 scream. It is really nice to be able to understand like some of the lyrics every now and then and listen to it. And just like, it's a different vibe and it's,
I think it's something fresh for metal because it's a throwback. It's definitely a throwback to a lot of the 80s stuff, but I think it's modern sounding too at the same time.
Yeah. So I'm such a song person. Like I really like to go through the record and kind of talk about some of my favorite songs. The music is killer, and I love, love, love the breakdowns and breakup lyrics in Endless War. Can we talk about writing Endless War and like where that song came from?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you much about the lyrics because I don't write the lyrics, but I did write the music to Endless War. And actually, I remember the band who I was listening to at the time when I wrote it was Sepultura. And I was on a Sepultura kick. So I remember I was listening to Rise, that record. And then I think there was another Megadeth track that I was listening to that I was like, oh, that's cool. So I kind of like mixed the Megadeth Sepultura type vibe with the music. And then that song almost didn't even make the album. We just had the music and we just put the music down because there was no lyrics. And then we got done tracking one day and we all had some drinks. And then Matt Bichond and Jeff Gard started throwing out lyric ideas and passing them back and forth. And they were writing ideas on a paper plate. And that's how that happened. And the next day we went in and cut the vocals for it.
Nice. Well, so I wanted to talk again, Blast Beats, Blast Drum Kickoff for the song Breaking Point. That song is heavy. Is that one of the heaviest tracks on the album to you? Because it is.
Yeah, I was going straight for the jugular when I wrote the music for that. I wanted to have a full-on thrash attack. I didn't even know if I wanted it for Living Wreckage because I was trying to keep Living Wreckage a little more on the hard rock side. But then once we got Jeff, we realized he could do both. So that's when I started throwing more thrash material into Living Wreckage. And that's why songs like Breaking Point and Endless War, Voices Lied, those are all songs that I wasn't sure really. And once I heard Jeff and I could see they could do both, I was like, all right, cool. I guess we could throw in some heavy stuff too. So.
Well, real quick, you do have the funniest thing. So I've always been obsessed and thought shitbag mode was the funniest thing ever. I've always thought that was hilarious. And I've never heard thrash attack before, like I guess used in a sentence. So I really like, oh yeah, thrash attack. So it's like very Wayne's World and very fun. So I like very fun. But I do want to talk about that song and just single it out for being one of the best songs I've ever heard. Just every point at that song being a full-on assault, like you said, of like brilliant guitars and brilliant, like, just heaviness all around. It just like punches you in the face every second of that song. And for a metalhead, I could kick my feet up and be like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever felt in my entire life.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have it held back at all and just be nonstop, like punch to the face, just relentless, nonstop energy.
Yeah. So what's the crowd response playing that song live? Like, I can only imagine what I would do. Like, come out of retirement. I don't know. But how is it playing that song live? How does everyone react to that one?
That one's fun because it's got one of those breakdowns that you can, when it's being built up, you know what's about to hit you. So the crowd always has a good time on that one. But it's interesting what we do because we also do a lot of covers sometimes. So we'll play just your regular bar anywhere, and those people aren't necessarily there to hear heavy metal or any original song. So we'll do stuff like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, Guns N' Roses, Ozzy, stuff like that, stuff that people know.
Yeah.
And then we'll throw in a song like Breaking Point. It's fun to see people who aren't necessarily into that style of music react to it. And it's kind of cool to see that because you're like, oh, these people can actually really get into it, they're just not exposed to it. So it's fun to do those type of gigs where no one's really expecting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. Well, I have a lot of experience with that. Like, all my friends are like normal and they think the whole metal thing I do is cute and adorable. And they're all kind of coming around. I've had, probably like 2 or 3 of my closest friends go like, I know we've been switch friend groups. I'm in a new one. So I'm like 1.5 years, 2 years in with some new friends. And they're all kind of coming around going, oh, so like metal's kind of positive, huh? It's kind of uplifting, huh? And it's a cute transition of them going, what is that? I don't like that at all. Not a fan. Whoa, that's scary, to like, oh, that's kind of cool. And like hearing really heavy shit and going, oh, but this is positive, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff is a lot of positive lyrics and stuff. People just hear it like, oh, it's got to be about Satan and killing people, but a lot of it isn't.
Yeah. Well, talking about Satan, it's very funny. I won't say who, but a lot of metal bands, like some of them like joke around and play around with, being gay Satan. And we're like, yay, we're a satanic band. But there was a band I was hanging out with that was very obviously satanic, like in their lyrics, but I thought it was a joke. And it was like 1:45 a.m. I'd been hanging out with them all night long. And they told me like a real like story about like being a real Satanist and like messing around with a priest's grave. And I was like, oh, you're like a real one, not like a playing around lyrically as a joke one. And I just thought that was the funny, and I was just like, whoa, it was a very intense. After hanging out with people for like, oh, sorry, what'd you say?
I said that's hardcore.
It was, I just mean to pop in and tell a funny story. It's one thing to joke around because literally it's all, it's just silly. Like everyone's just kidding. Like no one really means it.
Yeah.
But it was a separate funny thing. I was like friends with the band forever on social media, and I went to go hang out with them, and it was like 8 hours in of hanging out with them. 1:45 a.m. bar's about to close, and I asked the story, and they told me, and I was like, oh, okay, so I'm hanging out with real Satanists.
Yeah, before you know you're sacrificing something, and
yeah, I don't know, I just felt like I found myself in a really hilarious, funny situation, and
that's awesome. Crazy.
Yeah, I just thought it was like so funny. I thought it was a good podcast story. I was like, oh yeah, everyone jokes around. It's just jokes. And then, one night I found myself hanging out with the band. I was like, oh, they're not kidding.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, oh, they really mean it.
Yeah. I don't know if I don't think I've ever really hung out with a band that took it that far, but maybe they do. And I just haven't heard stories, but.
Well, we've all smelled them. Like the only, everyone smelled, what's that? Watain. Everyone has played a show the next day or a week later or a month later after Watain. And still
don't they like have like pig's blood and stuff everywhere?
Yeah. I was, it's all.
I'd hate to be on that one.
Yeah, especially now that you're older. Oh my God, it's so inconvenient. Just feels like so much work. I just want to take a nap. That sounds horrible. That's funny. Well, and on the other side of the coin, One Foot in the Grave is super melodic and beautiful. There's like 2 intros on the song, soft and sweet at the beginning on the first intro. And then the second intro, still melodic and pretty, but kicks it up a notch, and then it's metal and fun. Were you just like super proud of yourself for like being melodic and fun and then going heavy, heavy, heavy with that?
The melodic part actually came last. Just we had the song, we were like, we knew we wanted to open up the record with it. So we're like, how can we make this a little bit more interesting? So I just took the chord progression and try to make a more nice acoustic thing out of it. And that's how that came about. And when I wrote that, the music for that song, I was actually trying to do like a Carcass Heartwork meets Alice in Chains Facelift type thing with the riffs. So I was trying to like mesh that vibe together.
I love that. Put that on a t-shirt. So it's trying to mesh this with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what the whole thing is with the band, is taking that like the 90s and the heavy stuff and mixing it with the melodic stuff, like Carcass and Alice in Chains, and trying to make it work and see if it works out.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to talk about it because I was just so entertained by it. I wanted to be like, are you proud of yourself? Are you not entertained? You see what she did there? That was fucking awesome. I fucking love that. Like, I really loved that intro. I was like, this is so fucking cool. I love this. So,
I'm glad. I hope a lot more people feel like you do.
It's so good. It's so, so, so good. And if you're not like finding music that inspires you to like keep finding new metal, I just feel bad for you. And this is just such good fucking music. And I'm the worst for, and I've inserted Living Wreckage like into like what I listen to on the regular. And I'm the worst at just kind of listening to what I loved, way back when, over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be better at it, but it's just
I have that same problem.
Yeah. It's just such a sin. Like, it's really beautiful new music, and I really wanted to talk about it in depth about what I really love about it, because I get so trapped in there, but it sounds like so sad, to love this music and just not hear Living Wreckage, and find like something else you can super fall in love with.
Well, I'm so happy you dig it.
I love it. I really, really, really do. So how do you properly talk about 40 years of Anthrax? I'll start right here. My favorite thing about Anthrax is how absolutely rebellious they came off as in those early Headbangers Ball videos. Total badasses, very nefarious, fun, up to no good. That's what I loved about Anthrax. Learning about them is just like, oh, it's like there's fuckery about. They're fun. They're in your face. They're badass. That's what I kind of liked about it. It was super rebellious. What was your first Anthrax memory when you were a fan and not in the band yet?
So it was in, I want to say 89. So yeah, I think that's when it came out. So I was 10, and there was this thing called Dial MTV, and people would call and request their favorite videos. And I saw Antisocial on there from Anthrax, and I liked it right away. I was like, wow, this is awesome, because a lot of that stuff at the time, I was into more of the commercial stuff. So I was listening to like the stuff that was on all the time, like Skid Row, Bon Jovi, stuff like that, Guns N' Roses. I love all that stuff. That's some of my favorite bands.
Hold on, I have to stop you real quick. I mean, obviously, look at your hair. It's like, really? Is that as I see your hair flap in the wind, I'm like, okay, go on.
Yeah, I do love hair metal. So the other stuff, the thrash stuff at the time when I was at that age scared me. Mm-hmm. So I'd see people with the Metallica, Megadeth shirts, and even Anthrax. I didn't really hear any of those bands yet because they weren't played all the time on MTV. And then Anthrax, they were one of the first thrash bands I got into, and I think it was because of the vocals, because Joey's such an awesome melodic singer. And that's what really drew me to them. So it's like, oh, it's cool. It's heavier, but the vocals are still in my wheelhouse of what I like. Because it wasn't until later where I started getting into the heavier stuff. So they were definitely one of the bands that bridged that to go to the next level of heaviness. And I also remember I had a tape cassette of State of Euphoria, and I brought that song in for my guitar teacher to show me.
That's awesome. Love those memories. Those are awesome.
Yeah, crazy. I would have never even thought it'd be possible to play with them. Someone told me back then, and it's like, that's not possible.
Yeah, it feels very Stranger Things nostalgic.
So yeah, and plus MTV would make everyone just seem larger than life. So these bands even seem like people, because it was almost like they were movie stars too, because you just see them every day on your TV, and millions of people were watching that. That was it. It wasn't like a million outlets like they are today. There was MTV and radio, and how you found out about your bands was pretty much MTV. So that was it. And if you were on MTV, you were a fucking big deal.
Yeah.
That was only game.
Oh, sorry. What'd you say?
I said it was the only game in town, so that was it. If you broke on there, yeah, that was where, like, when everyone just seemed like a rock star, because everything was so over the top.
I would say that there is like everyone has become so accessible these days, and everyone, like, pretty much in rock and metal, like, most people are really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I especially, like, really reap the benefits of everyone, like, being super accessible and really sweet and really nice. Do you think that we should go back to, like, a little bit more mystique with our rock stars?
I like that, but also I'm also an introvert. So but I know the social media is a necessary evil to do this now. I mean, I don't know if a band could make it without it these days. I don't know. I would think it'd be very hard, but yeah, you got to constantly be on that stuff and post. And now it's like bands are doing skits and stuff, like they're on Saturday Night Live. It's just a whole other. It got to a whole new level, So it is what it is. If it was up to me, I would give it all up, to have it back to the way it was. But it's not going to. So why even bother worrying about it?
What were, you're a little bit older than me, just a little bit, just a tiny bit. But what were some things like the Dial MTV thing? Like, I've never heard of that. What were some other things you loved about like that era of rock star?
So what was awesome then too is MTV gave a chance to everyone. So you would have, like, say even on Dial MTV, which is the 10 most popular videos that was going on that week. Mm-hmm. So you have like Anthrax into something like Belle Biv DeVoe, into Madonna, into Cinderella, and it was like all across the board, So it was much more eclectic back then instead of just playing. I think they play. I don't even know. But from what I understand, it's just hip hop and pop. MTV. I wouldn't even know if they. I don't even know if they play anything anymore. So, but back then it just seemed like everyone had a chance. And then there was the Headbangers Ball, which they would throw on even the death metal bands and stuff. So it's really exciting. And, to have that go into everyone's living room made, that helped out a lot of bands.
Absolutely. Well, that just reminded me, like, my generation was TRL, and I was like, oh yeah, like we had NSYNC and Limp Bizkit.
And they would have, even back then they'd mix it up because you'd have stuff like Korn, like the new metal bands, and then Britney Spears. And then it seems like they just kind of swept rock and metal under the rug and just kind of forgot that those genres even exist.
Yeah. I mean, TRL probably brought Fred Durst and Christina Aguilera together. So.
Yeah. And then in the early 2000s, they had the Headbangers Ball again with Jamie Josta. And that was cool because Headbangers Ball and Fuse helped out big time for Scandalous Fall. Showing those videos on there, I remember, especially like Fuse was on at like 5 at night, so everyone could watch it. Mm-hmm. That was huge. The metal show on that was great.
It's super funny. Like, even right now, it's just sitting here is so hilarious to me because that's what I grew up on. Like, that's when I was like in middle school. Mm-hmm. Like, Fuse and VH1, and just like I remember like seeing Shadows Fall music videos and Soil and like Drowning Pool and stuff like that, and just I don't know, it's kind of a surreal moment for me to even like think about that time because I remember just being a kid watching that on TV and just like having any sort of platform where I can talk to anyone. Yeah, that's wild. And I don't know, just talking about that. I'm like, I remember that, Wow.
It was cool because all the heavier bands had a shot to get into mainstream and have people check it out. Like, a lot of people wouldn't have known who Shadows Fall is without Fuse. They're like, I remember, like, I saw your video on there for the first time. So it helped us out big time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like some underground thing that you had to find. It was, a lot of people had that.
Did you have a favorite between Metal Sonos and Mistress Julia?
I didn't have a favorite one. I just loved that anybody who was into it was giving it some love. So yeah, I mean, I've hung out with all those people and always had a great time with everyone.
Awesome. Good answer. What am I? Yeah, I'm like, well, that I don't know. Kind of thinking about it after the fact, I'm like, well, pick a favorite. I'm like, what am I doing? Pitching women against women?
Yeah, we were just talking about this on the Anthrax tour. We were on tour with Black Label, and Zach would always be like, all right, he'd always be like, you have to pick like Black Sabbath or Zeppelin. And we're like, well, why do we have to pick? We're like, no one's ever going to put a gun to your head and said you have to listen to one or the other. But that can be hard. It's hard to choose, So some bands, like I remember, like when I was a kid, it was Metallica or Megadeth. And I was like, I love them both. I go, there'll be sometimes I'll listen to more Megadeth, and there'll be sometimes I listen to more Metallica. But
There you go.
I don't know if I could choose one over the other.
Well, that feels like more of a personality test to me. Like in front of Zach, are you? I think, hold on. I don't know if I'm this smart, but maybe I figured something out. Maybe it's a personality test where he's saying, "Are you gonna pick Black Sabbath just because I'm standing in front of you, or are you a little rebellious and you don't care and you'll just pick whatever you like?"
I don't think so, because he had a new one every day.
Okay, what do you remember? A few more of those?
Yeah.
Do you remember any more of those, like this or that?
Yeah, he was. There was another one where he was like, "All right," but it was Kiss, like up to a certain record or not. Like when was it? When did you bow out? How long were you with it? And that was another one. But it was all. Zach's awesome, man. He's like, he's so funny and enjoyable to be around. He's nonstop, fucking always coming up with something that makes you laugh. So
that's funny. I love that. Well, Kiss wise, like talking about Kiss, we missed you on the Austin date. You weren't. Anthrax wasn't able to play that date, but I was hanging out with the Hatebreed guys, and they're such like huge Kiss fans. And I dated this guy for a short while who was the pyro guy for Kiss, like actual Kiss. And I ran into him in the bar when I was hanging out with Hatebreed. And he walked up, was like, "Hey, blah, blah." And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And then Wayne came up to me. He's like, "Oh, who's that?" And then I was like, "Oh, I dated him for a while. Like, he's the pyro guy for Kiss." And then he was like, What? Get him back. And like, he'd already walked out the door. And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? Like, hello." I could have like connected them and like been the hero of the year. I didn't even like make the connection or think about it. And he was like, "You just let him walk out the door." And I was like, "Well, that was mean of me." Like, everyone to the right of me like couldn't love Kiss more. And I didn't even think about it. So
yeah, Anthrax, those guys are huge Kiss fans. And then Hatebreed was on that tour too with Black Label. And Frank, is obsessed with them from Hatebreed. So
I love his post Kiss and Kiss Cruises and Disney and Denver Broncos and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that was kind of funny. I was like, "Oh, well, I love everyone in Hatebreed. Like, why didn't I go, guys, come here. This is Eric. Guys, this is Eric. Y'all love each other. Y'all have fun. Love each other for the rest of your lives. Run off into the distance." That's like such a great service I could have done for them. Like, here's someone who works for Kiss. Y'all be friends. Y'all have fun. Until it didn't dawn upon me. And it was like, "Oh, idiot. Silly. So silly. Should have done that." Yeah, everyone is obsessed. And their tour manager, his
nickname is Kiss.
Yeah, his nickname is Kiss. So they're just a very Kiss-loving people for sure. So how was the rest of the tour besides the date I didn't see you on?
The rest of it was great. I think we missed 2 shows only, but the rest was awesome. And that was our first tour back since November 2019. So, I mean, that tour for me flew by. Usually, 4 weeks and then on the road, you're like, "Oh man, getting a little beat down here." But it flew by. I was like, "Oh, I'm ready to keep going."
That's awesome. I love that.
So crossing our fingers that, we'll be back out soon, doing it again.
Yeah. I love that. It's so good. Yeah. I know you just love music so much and touring so much. So
I do.
Did you have any nervousness like going back to it? So many musicians were like, "Okay, here we go. Here's the thing. All right, I'm doing it."
I get more nervous during stuff like Living Wreckage when we're playing smaller bars.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like right there's, everyone's right in your face. And me, because I'm such an idiot with equipment, then I'm left on my own too. So I don't have Anthrax's guitar tech to help me out. So I get really nervous about my equipment. If I plug it in, something's not right. I'm like, "Oh, shit," I panic. So I get more nervous at those shows than with Anthrax and playing in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, I'm so glad we can, commiserate about that. Using my new mic, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm podcasting. It's plugged in. I tested it. Here we are.
Yeah. I get so nervous too. Under the gun, I'm like, I fuck up all the time because I'm so nervous trying to figure out. I'm like, oh, I hope it works. And it's always something stupid, like not plugging something in or even putting the power on. It's always something so stupid.
Yeah, I have the same kind of feeling, like this new piece of equipment, it's just new to me. First podcast with it. And I just like keep looking at the corner and I'm like, okay, we're still recording. We're good. Okay, I still see myself. Okay, the mic's still there. I tested the mic. Okay, the mic's okay. Like, here's okay, all right. I know it is like kind of nerve-wracking with like no equipment.
I know that feeling.
That's funny. Well, we did do the whole when you got the call story on the last episode, but for people who haven't listened to that episode yet, what was it like when you joined Anthrax? Do you remember the first show that you played with them?
Yeah, I do. It was in Australia, and we were doing the Soundwave Festival out there.
Oh, no pressure.
And then and then Anthrax was doing a club gig the night before the tour, and I never got to jam with the full band ever. It was just right into the show. I jammed with Scott a couple times. Mm-hmm. That was it. First time jamming with the band was first night of the show, and I just remember shaking like so bad before, like the intros rolling and sitting there and so nervous. But once it started getting going, then the adrenaline kicked in. But yeah, oh man, leading up to that. Plus, it's flying to Australia, so you're just thinking about that the whole time for like takes like fucking like 28 hours to get there. So yeah, that was that had me all worried, but it went all right, and no one threw anything at me, and I didn't get punched or anything, so it's all good.
It's funny you said no one punched you. I just had Eli Santana, like metal dude, but he's the new singer for this hardcore band called.
I know Eli. I toured with him.
Yeah, Ignite, and one of the funniest stories he told on our podcast episode was he was playing. I don't remember which festival. I think it was like punk rock bowling or something like that. It was some punk festival, not super familiar with, not totally my genre, but he was walking into it like, are people going to hit me? Like, I have to be prepared, like, am I going to have to, like, he got there, wasn't thinking about it. Then, like, right before, a few minutes before he was about to go on stage, he's like, oh, am I going to have to fight tonight?
Yeah, it can be nerve-wracking, trying to fill in for somebody or replace somebody, like, yeah. Once fans get used to somebody, it's hard to do that sometimes.
Yeah, well, I think it's really interesting too that like he, metal dude went to hardcore, and I would say during the pandemic, I super discovered hardcore and really fell in love with it myself. So I kind of have had, just paying respects and noticing and like respecting the ways in which I'm different, but the ways I want to learn. And I think like Doom is my experience in Dallas and Fort Worth, specifically just the city, was that I'm a metal chick, but like I would go to Doom shows and they were massively like unwelcoming and not nice. Mm-hmm. Just in those two cities, I would say for the genre. And I think it's kind of interesting, like, coming from one genre and then just like, it's a little nerve-wracking going to another one and not knowing how you're going to be received. And I've like felt some of those, feelings like doing some press with like hardcore fests and things like that. It's like, okay, well, I'm a metal girl. Like, okay, just super metal. Here we go. Okay, hopping in, doing hardcore stuff. It's kind of funny genres. It can be different feelings for sure.
Yeah, that could happen too with your bands when you play with different styles. In Shadows Fall, we would play with hardcore bands. We play with death metal bands, and You know, sometimes it's hard to win over when you're not in either, but you're kind of have your foot in each one. You know, like we love death metal, we loved hardcore, but we were neither of that. But we would play on full death metal tours or full hardcore tours, and you know, kind of seeing people just looking like, I don't know, while you're playing.
Yeah, it's definitely a
lot of arms being folded and sitting there looking at you like all right.
That's funny. I love that. That's super funny. Yeah, I remember talking to someone in a really big hardcore band, and he was on a very big death metal tour. So it's like hardcore band and like death metal band. And every day he was like, I don't know, man, it's a little weird. Just like the Barricade, summer thing. It's just a little different. And he just like felt so, like a little out of my element. Not gonna lie. So it's, I don't know, it can be funny and like nerve wracking a little bit. Like when you're Absolutely. In new genres for sure. My absolute favorite Anthrax song is Indians, and you guys always play it. And that's my like beer up in the air, jumping around and dancing. Like that's my favorite Anthrax song. What is yours?
Well, I don't know what my favorite song is, but my favorite song to play on the last tour was Keep It in the Family. And that was the first tour we ever did it. And I've always loved that song since I was a kid. So it was really, really cool to play that. It's got one of my favorite riffs in it. So that's the one that gets me going on the latest set list.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go listen to Keep It in the Family immediately as soon as we go.
It's got some riffs in it.
My favorite tasty riffs. Oh my God, I love it. As a guitar player, what is the hardest song to play in Anthrax? Or like hardest 7? I would just ask just one. I'm like, oh my God, is it right to ask one or just like what are the hardest 7 or 5 or 3?
The one that took me forever to get was a song called Time, the first song off Persistence of Time. It's because of the structure. It's like it has so many parts. I couldn't remember what the hell was coming next. I remember that one took me a long, long time to learn.
That's nice. There you go. I love it. So you are new to the Dean family. What do you have going on with Dean?
So right now I have a Signature USA with Dean that you can order through them. I'll be having an overseas one soon. But yeah, right now that's what we have going on. And I absolutely love the guitars. They play amazing. They sound amazing. So I'm really happy about everything right now.
I talked about like growing up a little bit, really loving like Metal Saunas, Mistress Julia, like Metal Saunas worked with Dean. Jose's worked with Dean. It's such a very cool metal lineage. I'm a big fan. So it's a very metal company. And even the people who work there, they're very metal. It's not corporate at all, which that's one of the big reasons why I really like going with them. It's just laid back people, just get to have some beers, chill, and they love metal. So yeah, I've always felt like that was such a rite of passage. Like Dean guitars is like such a rite of passage. I've always felt that way. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's an honor to play them.
That's awesome. So, what guitars do you mainly play in your Instagram videos? When we roll over in bed, open our phone, and like see your just casual shoulders,
Right now, anything lately is going to be a Dean guitar.
I love it. That's awesome. And are you playing your signature one?
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And what's on your signature guitar? So what makes it? How'd you build it?
I went to Dean in Tampa. I think it was in January, and I'd go through everything, like the body style, the wood they had there, the guitar necks, and just pick things and just Frankenstein something together.
So last question is a FOMO one. How was Tattoo the Earth I wasn't there. I really wanted to be there. All my favorite people were there. I saw the photos. I was so jealous. Tell me how it was.
It was amazing. A bunch of great bands. And then it was hometown for me too. So I had my friends and family there, which was great to have. But it made me miss those tours like Mayhem and Ozfest and stuff like that, because it had that same vibe. And I miss those festival tours of touring. And it feels like summer camp, for bands, and everyone, all the bands hang out and stuff. And, people grill, drink, have fun. And I really like that vibe. The Ozfest and Mayhem tours were some of the most fun I've ever had on tour.
That's awesome. Well, that makes me sad because I remember those tours.
I missed those festival tours big time.
Yeah. Vinnie Paul always going, hey, do you want chicken or beef?
Yep. It's always, like I said, it was a party every night, and you had 20 different bands to hang out with.
Yeah, I would say like my favorite festivals are maybe from like 10 years ago. Like there was Ozfest, I think it was 2010 in Dallas. And it was just like all my favorite people in the world. And I was so happy and so awesome. That was great.
Yeah. Be cool to do one of those again. Hopefully somebody brings a festival tour back in the summer somewhere for the hard rock heavy metal crowd. Yeah,
for sure. Well, Josta bought the rights to Milwaukee Death Metal Fest.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Metal
Fest. Is that right?
Because I missed that. New England Metal Fest too was awesome. But I missed both those festivals. So it'd be great to have that again.
Yeah, cool.
There's so many festivals now in the U.S., which is really cool because that was more of a European thing where they'd have all the festivals. But that's kind of just like those tours too, just a bunch of bands, and those are awesome to do. I love them.
Yeah, me too. Just to attend and have fun with, and and hold the beer up. Well, so glad I got to talk to you about Living Wreckage. I am so passionate about that album. Anything or what's the name of the album? Sorry, I just got that.
It's just self-titled Living Wreckage. Oh. We have the CDs available, the vinyl's available, and then you can stream it on all your platforms. And we'll be doing some shows soon. We have Facebook, Instagram. You can find all that information out there.
Are you going to do anything? I totally doubt it. You're not going to do anything like near Texas, right?
We want to go on tour. No one's asking us to go on tour. So, so hopefully somewhere down the line, somebody will want to on the tour and we'll be able to do that. But we do want to tour. I mean, we really want to get out there and show people what we do.
That's awesome. Well, if you love metal, share the album with a metalhead friend. Pass it on.
Exactly.
Share it.
We have to do it the old school way, word of mouth. So,
yeah, absolutely. Cool. Thank you so much for coming on. And you're never not creating music. I'm just so excited to have you on again. And like the next time we'll be talking about new music that you created.
Absolutely. I'll be jamming this weekend with Living Wreckage. So it won't be long to hear from that. And I'm sure Shadows Fall, who knows, down the line might have stuff. So I'm always staying busy.